We had fun the other night with the Warriors and Kings.
Woo! Hey, now you know.
Exhale, inhale, with my flow. One fun of money. Shout out to YouTube, Twitch, Xfinity Mobile Text Line. You guys thought I was going to go ahead and do that, huh? No. I'm on my job. Download the Odyssey app, 95.7 The Game. Thousands of other stations and millions of podcasts are free on the Odyssey app. Sports talk, music, news, podcasts, all available, completely free. And get this, you can catch every Warriors game live on the app, along with all the music and news the Bay Area needs. Go ahead, download that Odyssey app, 888-957-9570, if you want to give us your pitch to Aaron Judge. We'll replay Lubman's pitch at some point. Conto's going to give us a call in the next 20 minutes on his pitch to Aaron Judge. Rennell Brisbois is going to touch on that and the Willie Mays doc, which is phenomenal. Pilo's going to call in at 8:30. Pilo's going to make his pitch and explain why the Warriors are not in trouble.
Can I ask you a question?
What's up?
Who's got the 5th most home runs as a San Francisco Giant all time? As a Giant.
So you got Barry.
Well, number 1 is Willie.
Number 1, Willie.
In Giants uniform.
Giants uniform. Okay,
Giants
Willie.
uniform.
Willie is stretch 2.
Yes.
Mel Ott.
Mm-hmm.
Barry.
Mm-hmm. Barry's 2. Mel Ott 3. McCovey is 4. And number 5 is?
Jeff Kent?
No. Matt Williams.
Oh.
241, I believe.
Wow.
It just goes to show you how much, I think we've forgotten. He's a player that we've kind of forgotten how great he was.
It's funny you bring up Matt Williams, because before we get to this Kerr sound, we obviously saw the trade rumors with Klay Thompson. Stephen A. Smith saying, hey, Draymond, Klay Thompson for Anthony Davis. And, look, it sounds good on paper, right?
Easily.
But I was thinking about it last night. I was writing some things down. And so I get Klay. Excuse me. $40 million this year, $43 million next year. It's 2 years. And I know the Warriors paid him, and they didn't know he was going to tear his Achilles.
Yeah.
The contract is what it is. $40 million this year, $43 million next year.
It's not good.
It's not good, but you know what? It is what it is. Yeah. We understand who he is.
It's also not Keith Van Horn.
No, exactly. He's still a threat. So I'm just thinking about, what if the Warriors did trade Klay Thompson in the offseason? Again, I'm not advocating for that.
No, I'm not. I know you're
especially for Anthony Davis.
Yeah.
I'm good off Anthony Davis. This guy wore a That's All Folks t-shirt to the New Orleans Pelicans final regular season game when that franchise poured everything into him. He bailed on them, went to LeBron, and now you look at him, he looks like a dog. I don't want him. But if you traded Klay Thompson and you bring up Matt Williams, it'd be a trade of that magnitude. It'd be up there with Joe Montana going to get traded with the Kansas City Chiefs when the Niners traded with the Kansas City in 93. Matt Williams to Cleveland in 96 was devastating.
Oh, humongous.
Devastating. Now, you received Jeff Kent, Jose
but you didn't know.
But you didn't know that.
You didn't know.
You didn't know that. Matt Williams was San Francisco.
Yes. It was as if you were waving the white flag. That's
Right.
what people saw that as. It ended up being one of the great trades in Giants history.
Jason Richardson getting traded for the Warriors.
Was a devastating day.
For Brandon Wright?
Yeah.
Devastating.
Devastating day.
Mitch Richmond traded for Billy Owens was devastating. It was so devastating, Mitch Richmond didn't even buy a house that first year in Sacramento. He stayed in the Bay Area.
That's crazy.
He did not want to go. He just drove to the games.
I was going to reference the Kevin Mitchell, Dave Burba, Mike Jackson trade, and Billy Swift, which I cried. I'll never forget. I was a young kid. Right. I remember being devastated that they traded Kevin Mitchell away. Right. And it ended up being one of the great trades in Giants history because it propelled them to a great 93 year. They got a setup man. They got a 20-game winner.
So, for all the people who are like, trade Klay, you sure you want to do that? I mean, this is a guy in Klay Thompson who ran down that Oracle Tunnel, Game 6, 2019 NBA Finals against the Raptors. In the last game ever at Oracle Arena, this guy literally, with a torn ACL, ran down that tunnel, hit 2 free throws, got back on defense, swiped his shoes, you know how the kids swipe their shoes, and jumped up and down as if he was getting ready to lock in. Man-to-man defense. This is why I have a hard time with anything what's like, well, you got to trade Klay. I think you just got to ride it out. It's one of those situations where you just got to ride it out. I can't trade, where's loyalty come in? In today's society, we always look for athletes who give everything they have to that organization. Steph Curry's given everything he has to the Golden State Warriors organization. Klay Thompson has given everything to this organization. Everything. Literally. ACLs, played through injuries, the greatest games we've ever seen in Bay Area sports history. And I get, the whole Bill Walsh bench, hey, you want to get rid of the guy a year early, you want to cut this guy. Klay Thompson is a guy who I think would transition to the bench at some point in his career with the Golden State Warriors. His father did. His father, Michael Thompson, we all forget, was the number 1 overall pick with the Portland Trail Blazers. By the time he got to the Lakers, he was a reserve. And you know what? He did his job damn well. Came off the bench and helped the Lakers win 2 championships in the late 80s. Now, we know they won 5 in the 80s, but you get the point. When I see these trade rumors involving Klay Thompson, I don't think you talk about the human element of things and, some people not getting the human element in sports. This is where the human element for me, when I'm looking at Klay Thompson saying, there's no way I could trade that guy. Not for, especially for street clothes Anthony Davis.
Well, I think the other part of this is that you have to find someone that wants to take him back. And right now, I just don't think there's a lot of teams that want to take him back. But the reality is, I get everything you're saying. The question that I don't have the answer to is, what if there is something that improves their opportunity to win a championship? So your loyalty to the player or to their past achievements overrides, and I'm asking you just out loud, that overrides your obligation to try to win now? That overrides any obligation or loyalty that you might have to Steph Curry? And I hate doing the either or. I'm just asking hypothetically.
Well, you got to think about it like this. That locker room.
Well, no doubt. That's an element.
Klay Thompson, he's the one guy, we talk about the youngsters and whether or not there's a divide between the veterans and the youngsters. Well, that's the one guy who's embraced the youngsters.
Agreed. Especially Wiseman.
Wiseman on the boat. Moody down in L.A. Super Bowl party. He's rolling in the drop top with Klay Thompson. You see him yesterday at practice trying to encourage James Wiseman. You trade a guy like that. You want to talk about the human element? Yeah, sure, there may be a player. I don't know what player that is. But you talk about the locker room. Now all of a sudden you trade a Splash Brother. Steph's sitting there like, damn, they traded my Splash Brother. What does that do to the psyche of the locker room?
Well,
trade Klay Thompson means more than just to play on the floor.
Can we agree if they ever we're doing hypotheticals here.
Yeah,
if
because
they ever
Stephen A. started this and everybody's talking about it.
Yeah, well, I just don't think the Lakers would do that deal, and plus the contracts don't match up. You'd have to throw in other things, and so I hear what you're saying. Any deal on this team, it does feel like it gets veto power, approval power, however you want to phrase it, by Steph Curry, right? So that would be the starter there. The other part is, and let me just ask you, just hypotheticals, when you look at all these trades, there's 2 trades I think that were devastating trades to the franchise in terms of winning in the Bay Area, just of the teams that I root for. I know that there's some A's trades that we can question.
I got Chris Webber down here as well.
Well, that's 35 years ago.
But still, it was a devastating trade.
It was a bad one. There's no doubt about it. I was going to go, there's obviously the Jay Rich trade, which to me was a huge step backwards.
Yep.
And there was a financial component to that, and I still don't understand it to this day. And then there's the DeForest Buckner trade. The other trades that you referenced, like Joe Montana getting traded away, I know he believes in his heart he would have won a Super Bowl. And they got Dana Stubblefield.
Right.
He was a great player for them. I know. He's an iconic player in Joe Montana. You got multiple MVPs out of Steve Young, and you got a Defensive Player of the Year guy. Even the Monte Ellis trade, it opened things up for Steph Curry, and you got Bogut, and Bogut really, truly helped you. What was the other one that you referenced? Matt Williams?
Mitch Richmond.
Jeff Kent is one of the all-time great players.
But like you said, we didn't know that.
No, we did not.
So the day it happened, we were all like, oh my gosh.
I know. It was devastating.
Oh my gosh.
We thought we were giving the Cleveland, at the time, Indians, one of the great players in baseball.
Mitch Richmond for Billy O. Richmond was a Warrior for 2 years. Now we're about to have a Run TMC night, November 14th, where Chris Will and Mitch Richmond and Tim Hardaway are going to be the broadcast team for that game.
It's a horrible trade. There's no. You gave up a Hall of Famer.
But it's also just what it meant to the locker room and the culture.
No doubt.
And the Chris Webber trade, even though he was here for just 1 year, the Warriors didn't do anything for 14 years after that.
Well, I mean,
that trade set off a trend for bad team after bad team after bad team after bad team. So in terms of devastation, like in terms of what it would mean in a locker room with Klay Thompson, at least for this year, if you want to talk about trading Klay in the offseason, I'll entertain that. I'll be open-minded to that. But for this team in this season, to me, it's a non-starter.
I just don't know who's taking him either. Like, he's a guy who can't play on back-to-backs. Like, I don't
somebody would take him.
I don't think it's going to happen.
He's a superstar in this league. In a lot of people's minds in the NBA, yeah, his play may not dictate superstardom.
Are you talking about players or are you talking about front offices?
I'm talking about front offices and
You
teams.
think front offices think that?
No. I think fans and players, he still has that superstar
Oh,
aura.
he has the cachet.
No doubt.
Absolutely.
So when you got the cachet,
Absolutely.
and we've seen deals in the
But
NBA.
those guys don't make the
my
deals.
theory in the NBA is there's always a sucker. There's always a sucker. So when we hear about James Wiseman and Jonathan Kuminga, they don't have much value. What can you get for them? Well, there's veterans out there with expiring contracts.
Yes.
A team will sell an expiring contract
Miles
for a
Turner.
young asset all day long.
Miles Turner.
So that would happen in the NBA.
Yeah, I don't think any kind of trade. I mean, the Stephen A. trade that he's throwing out there, the other part is like receiving Anthony Davis. There's high upside, and there is a really low ceiling on something like that because if he gets hurt, you're done. I mean, you're absolutely done. And I'm not sure. Does he really help the issues that you have right now? Like, let's talk about Anthony Davis for a second in a vacuum. Is he going to help your perimeter defense?
I don't think so.
Okay, maybe you get some perimeter post defense, but Draymond's a better defender than Anthony Davis.
Yeah, I'm out on Anthony Davis.
Okay, the post scoring I'm here for, but he is addicted to shooting too far away from the hoop.
I'm so out on Anthony.
Yeah, that's
Davis.
what I'm saying. So like this deal doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And if you're the Lakers, again, I'm just playing from their point of view. Like, why would they want that? I don't see why they would want any of that.
Yep. Let's go.
So I don't know. I don't like it at all.
Let's go to Jane real quick in Concord. Jane, what's happening? You're on the roast.
Hi. Yeah, I'm calling because I'm thinking that if they're willing to keep Andre Iguodala on the roster, there's no way they're going to trade Klay Thompson because they keep Andre for his moral support and his team advice and all that. Klay Thompson has way more to offer than Andre Iguodala.
That is undeniable, but one guy is making the vet minimum and is 40 years old, and the other guy's making a boatload. I think the money thing for Klay Thompson is one of the big things that's going to preclude other teams from even wanting to look at him. But the money, like you said to this one, the money is the money, B. I mean, they're locked in on it.
No, and they pay for a guy before the Achilles. Like, ACL's one thing, Achilles tendons is the other.
Well, I mean,
and it's like, hey, look what it did to
whammy.
Boogie Cousins.
I mean, it's a double whammy.
Look what it did to DeMarcus Cousins.
I mean, he's done.
Ruined his career.
Yeah.
Now, Kevin Durant's an outlier. Dominique Wilkins is an outlier.
Yeah, but they not to be
right.
They had the Achilles. He had him back to back.
ACL and then the Achilles.
Yeah, he had him back to back.
Back to back. And when he tore the Achilles, DeLon Wright was in that scrimmage. There's multiple NBA players in that scrimmage. Said Klay Thompson was looking phenomenal. He was looking phenomenal. So when we focus on the money for him, like, what are you going to do? You know what it is. You got to just eat the money. And I'd rather eat it on a player like Klay Thompson, knowing that that guy's going to give me everything that he has. That guy has had some of the greatest moments in organizational history. This guy literally gave his ACL and walked on that court and tried to play basketball with a torn ACL. That means something. The culture that he's helped build here in Golden State, that means something.
Of course.
And if you make a move like that, life may never be the same out here for the Golden State Warriors.
Throw the Stephen A. trade to the side because that feels very extreme. And even when we say the B word, the bench, like that's extreme too. No one's saying he's getting DNPs.
That may be in his future.
DNPs?
No, bench.
But bench, we're talking about the first, like, okay, even if you're just out there and you're trying to rework whatever the starting lineup is, right? This word, we use this word, bench, okay? We're talking about like 3 minutes to start the first quarter. Who knows who's going to close the game, or you can still get 30 minutes in a game. I watched McHale come off the bench. I watched Ginobili come off the bench. We've seen someone like Lou Will play 30 minutes a game coming off the bench and being, for the most part, a closer on most of the teams he plays with. It's talking about the first couple minutes of a game, right?
But
I think the bigger thing for me, and this is the way I'm going to phrase it, for me, when it comes to Klay Thompson, shot discernment is the number one thing. The flow of the game. Are they good shots? Are we getting good, legitimately good looks? Are you hot? Like, are we limiting the amount of heat check threes that you're throwing out there? Like, that's what I'm looking at. And then trying to find situations where he can be a plus defender and finding the right matchups. He's going to get switched. Everyone gets switched out, and there's going to be matchups where you get cooked. That's how the NBA works. Even Draymond, one of the great defenders, is going to get beat because great offense beats even great defense at times. Can they situationally try to navigate this thing and make him the maximized version of what he is right now? That's the most important thing with Klay Thompson moving forward, because I still think there's a good player to great player in there on a lot of nights.
So here's my pushback on that, and we've had this conversation before. Number one, who you're starting him for. Like, Klay Thompson knows where to be. Part of the problem with the youngsters right now, and we'll get to the Kerr sound in just a second, part of the problem with the youngsters is they don't know where to be.
No.
They don't know where to go. They don't know how to play in the system right now. Those are facts. And right now, Steve Kerr yesterday, and I'll play the clip in just a second, Anthony Lamb and Ty Jerome are going to get more opportunities right now than Wiseman, Kuminga, and Moody's going to get some opportunities, but it's mostly Wiseman, Kuminga. So my thing is, like, the starters, they've gotten out to great leads. Starting the game has not been the problem. Shot selection, sure. It's been a problem. It's been a problem for Klay. It's been a problem on this basketball team.
Yeah, but
I'm also seeing Klay Thompson, miss wide open looks.
And it's something he can get better at. Like, we can agree on that. Like, and that kind of comes and goes. Even Curry takes bad shots sometimes, right? You have moments, struggles, whatever you want to call it. This is so everyone keeps saying, like, the starters are great. It's the bench. So this is the way I'm viewing it, and this is why I'm open to whether it's Looney or whoever. And we're just retinkering. If I know that I've got something that really, really, really works well, and I've got something else that doesn't really work well, I look at like Tetris, right? I'm going to try to take elements of what makes that really, really good, and I'm going to try to spread it out to offset whatever my deficiencies are. I'm not trying to take away from that. I'm trying to maximize what makes that really good and try to put a little bit of that into other lineups. Yeah. So that's why I'm going, like, how can I rework this Tetris piece to make everything fit? Because clearly right now, if we're just going to take acquisitions, trades, whatever off the board, and I'm trying to make the most of my 12-man unit that I have for right now, then I got to kind of spread it around and move things around. And that's why I'm trying, whether it's Looney, Draymond, whatever. I mean, we saw Steph Curry come off the bench, and they kind of reworked things, and they did a really good job in the playoffs. I think you got to be a little more foot. I know.
4 games, and it was coming off a foot, and it was like, you know what? I'll just ease my way back into it. Look, Klay does play a lot with the second unit.
He does.
So to your point about, hey, it's just 4 minutes. Well, if it's just 4 minutes, leave the starting unit alone. I know that's a guarantee. Right now I'm looking for guarantees. I'm looking for guarantees on this team. I know my starters are guaranteed to get off the good starts. They've done it all year. They've gotten off to great starts all season long, the starters. It's the bench that's been the problem of giving up the leads. Now, again, I'll get on the starters for, hey, man, you're up 4 against Charlotte with a minute left. What happened? What, can't bring this home? Man, hey, starters, we're down 3 against Miami in the final minute. We can't tie the game up. I know we got a bad call with Stephen Curry, but what's going on here? I know what happened in Orlando. But if it's just 4 minutes, let Klay cook with the starters, and then you got to play with the second unit anyway. He's starting the second quarter with JP. Klay, to me, when we're looking for a jump start of the second unit, I don't look at Klay as that guy. Because he doesn't facilitate for anybody. He's a catch-and-shoot guy.
I think we're isolating JP. I'm asking you then, how
it's not just isolating JP. No, it's just isolating the second unit and Klay Thompson.
No, I meant Klay Thompson, excuse me. I'm isolating Klay Thompson. I'm asking you this then. Then you're just going to ask the bench to play better? That's what we're at. Like,
no,
you just have to play better?
You've got to. So this is what you do.
How do you make the bench better if you know that the starters are so good, and that's a good unit? I'm going to tell you. How do you get the bench to play better?
Steph has to play the entire first quarter.
Okay,
that's number one.
Okay, so
that's number one.
We're going to make some rotation adjustments.
And we've seen that now. Curry's starting to play with the starters or with the bench in that first quarter unit. You got to stagger Draymond Green a little bit. Okay. All right, can Draymond start the second quarter instead of maybe sitting out the first 4 minutes of the second quarter? You know what I'm saying? Klay Thompson, how do you stagger him? Well, he's the first sub out anyway.
Yeah,
for
right
Jordan
now
Poole.
he is, yes.
And so now he's got to start that second unit. He's got to start that second quarter with the second unit. So you tinker with the rotations. You stagger the minutes. You maybe have Steph Curry play the entire first quarter instead of coming out at the 10-minute mark. Or, with there's about 2 minutes left in the first quarter, playing 10 minutes of those first quarter minutes. So of the 12 first quarter minutes. So you got to retinker how you get the minute allotment there. That's how you can make the bench better.
Okay.
And you get some of the bench players. This is my beef right now. If there was a beef with Steve Kerr, was, man, let me see Kuminga play with the starters a little bit.
So that was another suggestion I was thinking about. Like, Looney does so many grit and grind type things. Is that going to help maybe the end of quarter, like the end of the first quarter is clearly a problem. With 5 minutes to go, it feels like they're bailing water. What if you flip-flop, whether it is Kuminga, Wiseman, I don't know, whoever. Maybe it's starting JP and going really small. Would Looney then coming off the bench, would that maybe kind of lessen how bad the bench has been?
Maybe.
I don't know.
I don't know. Look,
because what's the number one problem with the bench right now? Is it defense? Is it offense?
It's both.
See, that's I agree with both.
But it's also it's both. Defensively, they can't stop a nosebleed. Offensively, they can't get quality shots because they don't know when to screen. They don't know how to run the split action to perfection. Yeah. They don't know how to run the horn set or whatnot, or floppy or whatever you want to call
Spain.
it. Like, you don't want to do, you can't do any of that stuff because they don't know where to be. And that's a problem. We'll get to some Steve Kerr sound in just a second. Let's go to Marge in Dublin. Marge, what's happening? You're on the roast.
Hey, guys. Good morning.
Morning.
A couple things. Klay. We've got the top starting five in the league, or right up there. Why would we want to get rid of Klay? Yeah, he's not Klay of yesteryear, but he's still Klay. And Anthony Davis, they haven't been able to keep him on the floor in Los Angeles, so why would we want? And plus, bring him into the starting five, and he doesn't want to play center. He wants to be a power forward. So anyway, there's that whole problem. But then let's talk about oh, man, now I forgot my second point.
Uh-oh.
And it was a really good one.
Oh, man. Really good point. It must not have been that good, Marge. You forgot the point.
Oh, I know what it is.
What is it?
Steve Kerr is really good at finding out what players are good at and maximizing that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I've looked at a lot of tapes of James Wiseman over the years, high school, and that's what it mostly is. He's really more of a three, more of a Kevin Durant guy, and we're like cramming him into the center. He's got that feathery touch. He can shoot the three. He's tall enough to shoot over guys. I say let's move him out on the wing and see what happens out there because, maybe ease him into learning about the rebounding and that. But as far as playing bully ball in the middle, I just don't think he's that guy.
That's an interesting point.
That's all I got.
No, I think
Thanks,
that's a
Marge.
really interesting point, Marge. I think that where they're stuck here is that he does certain things well that don't fit what they're wanting him to do and what they desperately need as a team. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where she's going at with this. Like, they need a bully ball. They do need a bully ball guy. They need a guy that's going to box out, stay underneath, set screens.
Isaiah Stewart would be perfect on this team.
And
a guy like that. I'm just saying. I'm throwing names out there like that.
You're right. But what I'm saying is that that's not Wiseman's.
That's not his
skill
style
set right now at all.
No, not even close.
I mean, the essence of coaching is always to make the best out of what a player can do well.
Right.
But the problem is that in this situation, you don't switch everything you do to let a role player excel at what he does at the expense of some of these other great players who are more important to winning.
Yeah, Wiseman, it's a rough ride right now for him.
They're just in a tough spot.
There's no doubt. Let's go to Matt real quick in Oakland. Matt, what's happening? You're on the roast.
Hey, appreciate you guys taking my call. I wanted to throw out a trade idea. I'm not usually big on the trade ideas, but I wondered if trends continued the way that they go with the Western Conference, if a package of Wiseman and Kuminga and maybe a first-rounder, if necessary, for Sabonis on the Kings, who the salaries would match up. His style of play as a passer, it could be a pick and roll partner for Poole in the second unit. Tell me what you guys think, if there might be mutual interest on that.
Man, it's funny you say that, Matt. We get a text from Oreo Cookie. Let's get some bonus from the Kings. He's a good screen setter, really good. But watching him the other night, he doesn't go up strong. He's pump faking. And defensively, I'm not the highest on him.
Would the Kings move off of him either? I don't even know.
No.
Like what they're.
I don't even know his contract.
I feel like they made such a big move to get rid of Halliburton. I'd be surprised that they would, move off him.
A lot of hollow numbers with Domantas Sabonis. It seems like gets a lot of doubles, but and a lot of losses, like 2010, but come up short. Feels like Kevin Love back when he was with like the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Yeah, I look at his contract here. Domantas Sabonis with the Sacramento Kings. He's got 2 years left, including this year, next year. He's making 18.5 this year, 19.4 next year. Then he's an unrestricted free agent at the age of 28. I
I thought they were going to go Laurie Marketing on us because he's having such a monster year right now.
Hey, Utah's no joke, man.
I know.
Utah, they got some staying power.
I know.
They got some staying power.
Shocking.
Sabonis for Kuminga and Wiseman. I don't know.
I just don't think the Kings would do that.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know about that.
He's one of their few veterans that's respected. I don't know.
Let's hear from Steve Kerr.
And plus, does that help their defense?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Like right now, we can all kind of agree defense, rebounding, perimeter defense specifically, those are some of their issues, not like an elbow big who can pass.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that one. Here's Steve Kerr on why he's playing Ty Jerome and Anthony Lamb over your youngsters.
The thought process is, when you're struggling and you don't have a rhythm, you don't have consistency, veteran players are going to be able to provide that more than young players are. And so, Ty and Anthony are both, relatively young, but 4-year college players. They've learned a lot more. They've absorbed a lot more than our younger guys. And so they're more capable of allowing different groups to click, defending without fouling. You've seen, Lamb, you just watched Lamb, every defensive play on the interior, he's here instead of in here. And so as we're trying to clean up our defense, it's Ty, same thing. He defends without fouling. He doesn't turn the ball over. Those are crucial things when our margin for error is really slim.
Then I got one more for you, Shasky. Kerr was then asked about the lack of emotion coming from the bench.
We're still trying to find ourselves as a team. We've been, losing. We're obviously, 4-7, not where we want to be. The young guys are trying to find their way. We're trying to find our way with our combinations. So we haven't found the momentum that we're looking for. And a little bit of the chicken and the egg conversation here. You generally, see more energy and more joy when a team's winning. But on the other hand, if you can bring that, it tends to lead to winning as well.
So first, Lamb and Jerome and then the bench celebrations or the emotions coming from the bench. There's not a lot of coming from the bench. There's no lie. I saw Kim Bazemore tweeting about it the other day. So it's an underrated factor. But Ty Jerome and Anthony Lamb, how disappointing is that?
Towel Man of the Year, Ben Bazemore. You know what? I like Kim Bazemore. I've always liked him.
I can't knock him. He does. You need those guys off the bench, though.
I know. But look, we do this in baseball, Bonte. We've dissected the Giants' dugout for how many years? You're still doing the dab like they're the least swaggiest team. Right now, I look at that bench, and I think the hard part for people to understand, it's difficult to be a towel waver when you've been on the court your entire life, and now you're 19, 20 years old. Right. And you're one of the guys on the bench, you're just not accustomed to that.
Yeah.
And I'm not making excuses. I'm telling you, through the eyes of a young player, I have yet to prove I want to be out there. I want to be out there. I want to be out there. It's hard for me to be like, oh, yeah, let's go. I don't know.
Real quick, Ty Jerome, Anthony Lamb, isn't that disappointing that they're playing over the youngsters? That we're already 11 games in, and Ty Jerome and Anthony Lamb are better options than Kuminga and Wiseman?
It's simultaneously disappointing that the other, and it's not just the youngsters, the other veterans, Jermichael Green, Dante DiVincenzo, aren't better. And the other part that makes me really sad is that it's the right move right now.
Damn.
We can argue about how we all don't like these guys. They're better right now than those other guys. They're 25. They played years in college. More seasoned. They've accepted the glue guy roles. Bonte, it is what it is. I've kind of accepted it.
Yeah.
Am I wrong?
Sad.
It is sad. But B, is it the wrong decision?
And that's why.
Let me ask you.
No, it's not the wrong decision right now. It's not the wrong decision right now, but that's why. And there's going to be a trade. I don't think. I'm not going to say. I'm going to say it. It would not shock me if Kuminga and Wiseman are not on this roster by the trade deadline.
Both?
Both. It would not shock me. It would not shock me. Chew on that for a second.